That emotions are running high in politics these days, but what's the origin? Here's part of a series of tweets from a conservative this week. He's no supporter of President Trump, but what he said caught my eye. Quote, "One of the most frustrating things for a movement conservative is that it feels impossible to publicly make the accurate case that the reason we have Trump, the reason so many on the right embraced him despite all his obvious shortcomings, vulgarities and inadequacies, is because of the way the left has treated the right in this country for decades. The right's embracing of Trump is a byproduct of the tyrannical and bad faith treatment perpetrated on the right, culturally and politically and economically by the left." Henry, I thought there was some real wisdom in that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been involved in conservative politics for 45 years, and I was called racist and fascist years before Donald Trump ever came. People were accusing Mitt Romney of that. They accused George Bush at different times. It's just if you are on the right in America, you are attacked as being at best stupid and at worst evil. And as one of my friends said, if you're really effective, they call you stupid and evil. And after a time, you just realize that they're not going to treat you fairly, so you want somebody who fights back.
And they're constantly sort of pushing their agenda without ever kind of stopping to think, let's have a bit of kind of diplomacy here, let's have a sort of a sense of tolerance for what other people might think is. No, you've got to ram it down your face.
I like to bring it down to the level you and I talk about people and families and relationships, something I read about a lot in my book, and why we're experiencing what we're experiencing on college campuses, and especially in places like California, New York, the coasts that are blue, deep blue, is that these people think that everyone around them must be a liberal. Everyone around them must hate Donald Trump. So they have no problem disparaging Trump supporters, disparaging the president, disparaging patriotism, and all things that come along with it because they think everybody else thinks like they do. That's why they were so wrong when Trump won in 2016, because they had this notion that, well, everyone must think like me, and it's an indulgent feeling, it's an indulgent theory, and they're being proved wrong, and Donald Trump doesn't take it from them, and that's why he won, and that's why he's going to win again.
Yeah, I mean, you've chronicled this for this is, the behavior of the left, it's just so intolerant. And that's what people are reacting to. And finally, got President Trump who kind of speaks up for them.
Well, when I was on the left, and of which I continue to try to make up for the last quarter of a century, is part of the theory was that we trusted that Republicans wouldn't push back, and it would make it easier to move through. But what I also realized as I began to make my move out was that liberals didn't have the answers if they were questioned. Is that we couldn't survive an actual debate and an actual confrontation. So you had to simply shut people down and eliminate the nature of their voice at all. Bonson's tweet also went on to say that the people who voted for Trump would regret choosing him as an antidote. The biggest mistake conservatives continue to make, I should say Republicans in particular, is to underestimate Donald Trump and by then proxy underestimate the American people. That's the problem here, is that we're reacting, that we're a reactive force, that there's no thought behind what we're doing. We're like a ball rolling down a hill and we can't stop. The fact is, we know what we're doing. We elected him not because of one thing, but because of a million things. And that is certainly the next generation, the future, and what he discussed. The fact that he's focused on accomplishing things as a man of action, that we actually, as we operate in our own lives, you've got a budget, you've got a to-do list, you've got to get as much on that to-do list done because tomorrow's coming, and we could relate to him. So it's an insult to suggest that we're kind of zombies and we're kind of or like crows and there was a shiny thing and we're going to follow the shiny thing. No, it's deeper than that, and that's also why President Trump will win in 2020, because it is on the issues constantly underestimated and constantly underestimating the American people.
And Tommy, I mean, we were talking earlier about, just the latest example, the Nike business with the shoe. You can't have the American flag on the shoe. Just yet another example all the time of this kind of cultural imperialism, from the left saying, no, we're right, you're wrong, forget about it.
Well, loving this country didn't used to be a partisan thing, but the left has chose to co-sign that proudly. And it makes it very easy for us, because if we have to say we're the party that loves the American flag and the American way of life, then I guess we'll take that, and President Trump should take that on as well. But to what you were saying, Tam, I think it's important that we don't make President Trump our messiah, but we look at him and say, this man did something fantastic, and then he needs to pass the torch along to someone else that's willing to do the same thing. We can never go back to a John McCain, Mitt Romney style of conservative again, because we will lose again.
So or even, to your point, going from a Reagan to Bush. is that there has to be someone who understands the nature of the Reformation.
Great point. By the way, I just want to re-emphasize something that's so brilliant. The left couldn't survive an actual debate. Tammy Bruce, very good.